Okay, in this video, we're gonna be talking about the Victorian compromise. What's a compromise? It's a way of keeping together two things, two items, two ideas, two principles that clash with each other. It's a kind of paradox. Um, what is there in Victorian age that can be interpreted in two opposite ways? First of all, imperialism, and we dealt with it in our videos about Conrad and Kipling. So basically, the paradox is that on one hand, imperialism can be justified as a mission, the mission of the colonizer. On the other hand, we can make an indictment and say that imperialism is an act of aggression. So, how can you let these two ideas coexist? It's called a compromise. But another thing that makes us think of a compromise is the way Victorians lived in their private and in their public life. Victorians were basically Puritans, so they were obsessed with the moral image they projected around them. For them, it was more important to be perceived as moral people, as decent people, than actually being decent people, moral people. It's all about respectability. Respectability is the faculty of being respected by other people. So it's not something I think about myself, it's what you think about me. If you think I'm respectable, so I have gained respectability. All Victorians longed for was projecting outside an image of themselves of respectable persons, people. But they felt that they had some inner drives not socially acceptable. Sometimes they wanted to have a love affair or a sexual relationship with someone outside marriage, which was obviously not socially acceptable because at that time there were strict family roles. You need to be a husband, a wife, a husband and a wife. You have to show yourself in public with your wife, with your kids, attend the church, always giving an image of harmony. Your family is in harmony, and so on. But Victorians knew pretty well that a part of them wanted something else, at least sometimes. This is what look, this is something Friedrich Nietzsche will talk about. You will see it in philosophy, and we're gonna deal with it later this year. So what happens? They felt split into basically two people. Every one of them felt they had a public image which had to correspond perfectly to what Victorian morality wanted all of us to be, and a hidden side which had to be kept hidden. The need to get drunk, the need to, just as a form of, just as a way out of everyday routine, for example, or worse, visiting a brothel, visiting prostitutes, or committing acts of violence. All this stuff was felt as socially unacceptable. but this caused a form of unease and even a kind of stress for Victorians, because they felt they could not totally express themselves. They felt that there was a part of them urging to emerge, urging to express itself, but it had to be kept repressed. Um, Robert Louis Stevenson, the writer of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, in a way, creates the perfect image of a Victorian man. Who is Henry Jekyll? He is a respectable scientist. He has a respectable life. Nobody can say anything about his public or his private life. He has a beautiful house. He is a scientist, so he goes to his laboratory. He has decent friends, a lawyer, for example, Mr. Utterson. And from the point of view of Mr. Utterson, the story is told, because The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde is not told from Henry Jekyll's point of view, but from the point of view of Mr. Utterson, which makes this look like a detective story, because Utterson observes what happens. He starts being doubtful about about why his friend Henry Jekyll pays a girl who had been assaulted by a strange man, who will turn out to be Mr. Hyde, Edward Hyde. This girl has been assaulted, and the money check used to pay her back was signed Henry Jekyll. So why would Henry Jekyll, such a respectable man, have anything to do with this strange man, this Edward Hyde? Why would he? And once again, there started to be something really suspectful about Jekyll's life. His habits change. What is going on? Jekyll is tired of hiding. He cannot hide anymore his inner drives. He has to express these drives. What kind of drives? That I was mentioning before. Just simply getting drunk, visiting prostitutes, visiting the worst part of the town. Because if you think about it, even our buildings have a beautiful facade, and they have the back side of a building. Even our cities, our towns have usually the center of the town, which is pretty well taken. Everything is okay. You find gardens, you find city lighting. But what happens in the dark side of the town? This is where Jekyll wants to go first, in order not to be recognized. Because what would happen if someone sees him going to these horrible places where people get drunk, smoke, every sort of things, they meet prostitutes? What would people say about him? They would lose his respectability. So he has to act upon this. As a scientist, he thinks, I'm gonna create a potion which makes me turn into another person. physically as well, so that nobody can understand that that is me, that is also me. I am both Jekyll and this other creature, which is named Edward Hyde in the novel. But basically, it's the same person. We will read a famous quotation in chapter 10. Chapter 10 is a chapter that corresponds to a letter, to, we may say, a will that Jekyll has left to his friend and lawyer, Mr. Utterson, saying that if I die, if you can't find me anymore, all I have, all I own, will go to Edward Hyde. Of course, Jekyll had foreseen what might happen. He thought, what if I can't go back to being Jekyll? What if I stay Edward Hyde forever? I'm gonna lose my identity as Henry Jekyll. This is something you will find even in Luigi Pirandello. You will read about this Mattia Pascal Adriano Mace, who are the same person. You will see. And we're gonna make a comparison between these, we should say, these four characters, because two are the same character, even in Luigi Pirandello. In this will, in this final letter, which is read by Utterson after Jekyll is found dead in his laboratory, and he finds a kind of confession. In this confession, Jekyll explains the very ingredients he used to create the potion. And he said, I did it because every man is not truly one man, is not truly a single man, but every man is truly two. Every one of us is truly two. Each of us has a dark side, which has to be kept hidden, and a bright side, which Luigi Pirandello will define as a mask. We wear masks. Henry Jekyll is just a public mask that he wears in order to be accepted in his society. What happens? As he takes the potion, first, second, third time, the more he drinks the potion, and then he drinks the potion to go back to being Jekyll, the stronger Hyde becomes. And this stands for the fact that when we become dependent, addicted to something, if we depend on something, if we are addicted to a drug, smoking, even sex, if we are addicted to something, this addiction takes over us and it gets stronger and stronger, and it becomes uncontrollable. We cannot control it anymore. So this is what happens in the story. Jekyll starts turning to Hyde spontaneously without even having to drink the potion. He starts becoming Jekyll in his dreams. While he is sleeping, and that makes sense, because when we are sleeping, our reason does not work. So our dreams, our nightmares, are totally driven not by our reason, but by our drives. And Hyde is Jekyll's drives. Hyde is this part, this unconscious. I cannot say unconscious because the novel was written and published before Sigmund Freud had created psychoanalysis. So I wish I could say the unconscious part of him, but I can't. But this is really huge because Stevenson thought about it before Freud had created psychoanalysis, and before Freud had split our psyche into a rational part, an unconscious part. It would have been easier to write The Strange Case of Jekyll and Hyde after Freud's lesson. So this is important to be reminded. In the end, the only thing Jekyll can do to stop this part of himself, is killing Hyde. But killing Hyde meant killing himself. Killing Hyde meant committing suicide. In our next video, we're gonna be talking about Oscar Wilde. A similar ending can be found in The Picture of Dorian Gray. Even in that novel, the protagonist, Dorian Gray, this young man, this aristocratic man of stunning beauty, has posed for his friend Basil, who has painted his portrait. But what happens? Dorian, under Lord Henry's influence, because Lord Henry pushes him to do so, that Dorian says, I wish I could stay forever young, forever beautiful, the way I am now, the way I am today. I wish I could freeze the moment, this beauty of mine. I wish it could last forever. I would do anything. I would do anything. And this makes us think back of the myth of Faust. Even Faust had told Satan, in order to have unlimited knowledge, I would do anything. I would give my soul. And in fact, he goes to hell. The same happens to Dorian. When Dorian says, I would give my soul, I would do anything to stay forever young and beautiful, the way I am today, this is when he loses his soul. This is when he turns from an innocent young man to a cynical man. Cynical. What is a cynical man? A person who uses the others for his own joy, for his own pleasure, for his own needs, and he doesn't care about the rest of the people. So we may think of Dorian Gray as a new kind of Narcissus, as a new kind of Faust. I was telling you, even Dorian finally becomes tired of leading such a life of excesses. So think of Kierkegaard. Even in that case, the first phase leads to dissatisfaction. The phase of Don Juan, we may say, when a man is a victim to his pleasures, when a man is a slave, not a master, because we think we are the master of our pleasures, but actually we are the slaves to our passions, to our pleasures. And Dorian first accuses Basil of making the picture, but finally he understands that it's all his fault because he listened to Lord Henry's lesson. So it's actually Lord Henry who has exerted a bad influence on Dorian, and Dorian thinks, I'm gonna destroy the picture, I'm gonna take my soul again. But in the end, the picture is found perfectly intact, and he is found by his servants in his house, uh, dead, obviously, old, wrinkled. His face is destroyed because everything had been a curse. He was a prison to the curse he himself had created when he said, I would do anything, I would give my soul. So, just like Jekyll gets rid of Hyde by killing Hyde, so Dorian gets rid of the picture by destroying the picture. But in both novels, Jekyll and Hyde are the same person. Dorian and his picture are the same thing. I can't say person because a picture is a picture. But in that picture, there's Dorian's soul. Once you destroy the picture, you have destroyed your life and your soul.